Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of I Think I Hate Movies, the podcast. It is a podcast. I always say the podcast. Like,
There's another version somewhere.
there's another version, like the video version or something.
Cartoon version.
The cartoon version. I'm your co-host, John.
And I'm Ray.
And we're here to talk about stuff and things and movies. Yeah. We have to talk about movies. But first, let's talk about movie news. Not much. Not anything. Well, I can't say that for sure. Something probably happened with movie news that was pertinent to our discussions, but I failed to look it up. So we're going to debut a new segment this week. And this segment is called Movie Trailers I Didn't Watch. Because I don't watch movie trailers.
Nope, not at all.
Except for I watched one. It was earlier this week. The Assassin's Creed movie trailer came out. And this appears to be a movie based on the Assassin's Creed video game franchise starring Michael Fassbender and Marion Cotillard and Cotillard, right? Is that how you say French names? You
I guess.
cut off
sure.
the last syllable. Cotillard.
Cuddlard.
Marion Cotillard.
Mary and Cuddlard.
Yes. I don't mean to besmirch her name because she's a great actress. I really like
She is.
her, but oh my god.
You forgot to mention the other one. The one
Oh,
that
I just
ultimately
realized.
cut me.
What?
Who else was in that movie?
I have no idea. Who?
Jeremy Irons.
Oh, Jeremy Irons.
in
Yeah,
that
he's in
movie.
there for like a second.
He's breaking my heart, though.
Yeah, he really is.
Like, what is he doing? For the past, 5 years, what have you been doing?
He's been making some pretty sour choices in his roles, but anyway.
Sorry, I digress.
Yeah. I just realized that this is like a movie trailer reaction segment.
Sorry.
Gross. We're doing a YouTube video in audio form. Anyway.
This is the other version we were just talking about.
The
other version of the podcast.
What?
Never mind.
So I used to have a fondness for the Assassin's Creed games. I played like 3 or 4 of them, something like that. And it's interesting. Well, first off, it's interesting. It's always interesting when a studio tries to do a video game adaptation of a movie, or a movie adaptation of a video game. Because it's kind of has a checkered past, I would say, as far as movies that are critically good, or you know what I mean?
I can't think of a video game movie that was ever critically good.
Yeah. I think one that comes to mind is Silent Hill is okay.
In the sense that it's nothing like the well, it's got atmosphere from the video game and some plot things.
I think that if you're gonna do a video game adaptation, something like Silent Hill did it right, in which it didn't do shot for shot or, you know what I mean, beat for beat the video game, because then fans of the video game will know exactly what's going to happen. So you kind of want to play with the plot a little bit and make some, changes where it's needed. But yeah, you're right. I think the atmosphere in Silent Hill was pretty good. The monster design, the music.
The music was the same as 3, wasn't it? It was Silent Hill 3's music.
Yeah, it was the same composer. It was, what's his
Akira
name?
Yamaoka.
Yeah, it was Yamaoka. So, I think if you're going to do a video game, that's the way to do it. But wow, Assassin's Creed. I'm not a huge fan, at least anymore. But you
I
are
really liked the first
a little more invested.
4 games, which is 1 and 2 part of the series. I
And then
didn't
the
finish
offshoots.
3, and I never started Black Flag.
Right.
And
Or that one that I.
but
bought.
I like sci-fi rubbish, so I kind of liked
Yeah.
the whole Animus idea of it,
Yeah.
and I liked that part of it being a game, and I liked the history that they clearly researched in the first 2 for sure, but they put a lot of emphasis on the detail, and I love the first one where the languages were there too, where you would like walk around in the more immersed. Yes, immersed you got in the Animus, the you would start to, like, as you got closer to people, their language would start to change to English or whatever language setting you had it to, but overall you were hearing the authentic languages of that time period and where you were.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a neat thing to put in a video game, because that's something I crave when I play or even watch movies. I crave the actual language that's there.
Authenticity
Yeah.
is important. Yeah, totally.
And yeah, also that the characters were non-white.
Yep.
That's kind of a big thing I liked about Assassin's Creed. And
We're back here.
look at that.
Look at that. This movie, in which, like I said, you gotta change some stuff when you're doing a movie, but the first 2 protagonists in the games were, well, the first one, Altair,
Right.
was Arabic,
Yeah.
and then
Ezio was Italian.
Ezio's Italian.
Right, but he's descended from Altair. But the main character, Desmond Miles, looks clearly mixed race in the first 2 games, and then in the 3rd game, he starts looking more white, and that's where it starts getting weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're back to whitewashing again. But I mean, I think this is a problem that's more emblematic of the game series that's gone on too, where that first game was a huge risk because it was a non-white protagonist, and they took a huge risk doing that, because that's, like video games, action video games, that's what they are for the most part, big budget ones at least, where they have less leverage to take risks. So by starring this non-white character, and then it being a success, then I feel that as they went on, they took less risks because it was a sure bet.
They lost a ton of risk taking.
Yeah.
As the game went on, and it became less something that intrigued me, where I was like, if I had started off playing 3, I would have felt like this was propaganda, and I really wouldn't have wanted to play it.
Well, like,
at all.
what was the setting in the first one too? Was Israel?
It goes from
And
Israel.
Jerusalem?
I think you even go to Jordan at one point.
Yeah. So it's like a non-traditional action protagonist in a non-traditional setting, and then eventually you get to 3, which is the one you didn't finish.
And on top of that, the first one too is also like all about perspective,
Right.
and about history and how flawed it is, which is
Right.
kind of cool. Like I mean, of course, it's entirely made up,
Right.
but it still has that concept of you really don't know what happened back then. It's so far removed, and so much could have happened to have changed what had happened. Like you're looking
Yeah.
at history that's hidden in that game,
Mhm.
essentially. Like you're seeing a lot of references to people who did exist, but then at the same time, just slight alterations to the story that you heard in your history books and stuff. So it was kind of
Right.
a nice touch.
Which is an interesting... It's like an interesting play on perspective too, because
Exactly.
The history is all about perspective.
Right.
So looking through the eyes of a different perspective and through a different lens, like you have more, like, you know what I mean? Like you can do more, or you can.
You can say more. That's
Right.
what it felt like.
Yeah.
That's why it felt weird when they started
That was
saying
the thing.
so
It's like
much.
Assassin's Creed 1 felt like it wanted to say something. It felt like it had
Yeah.
a message, and as the games went on, they became just monotonous, cookie cutter kind of
It
action
started
games.
falling apart. I feel like in the middle of Ezio's arc, it's like you could
Yeah.
see that there was some sort of struggle going on with the writing, whether they wanted to satirize Ezio as being this like action movie guy who doesn't really get what he's doing, or if
Right.
Yeah, or if they really wanted to do a full arc of a growing man and his
Which they do. I think they come around.
Yeah,
basically.
they try to do it, but you can kind of see where there was definitely a struggle where they kind of want to keep to these tropes of this action movie man as opposed to like fully embrace him as a real character, as like just some guy who just really doesn't understand the situation.
Right. So, not to get too tangential, anyway. So the movie is supposedly not starring any of the mainline game characters. It's an original story, original character. But it's still set in it's going to be set during the Spanish Inquisition.
Cue the joke.
Yeah. Nobody expects.
We need a sound machine. As soon as you mentioned Assassin's Creed, I wanted to like
Eagle.
Exactly. Eagle noise. As soon as you say Spanish Inquisition, I want buttons to be pressing.
So it's like they're trying to find a middle ground where they can tell like this bombastic story and do these cool historical elements and these cool sci-fi elements
with white people.
With white people, right? And then there's a lot. This is the first trailer or whatever, but it looks like fan service.
Especially the end, where he jumps off the building.
Where he jumps off the building into a pile of hay, we're assuming.
They don't show the ending.
Yeah.
Maybe he's killing.
Maybe he's killing himself. Spoilers! Yeah, anyway, I didn't watch this trailer. But it looks bad. We'll have to watch that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Probably not in theaters, though.
Just out of morbid curiosity, I guess. Which,
It's so sad.
Is it?
It really makes me sad.
Is it really sad?
Like, if they had actually done the first game, I would actually be with, like, actually well-casted actors to play it, I would have been hyped.
This movie should have come out 10 years ago. And you're right, to your point, it should, like, I don't give a shit about Michael Fassbender as Animus guy. And, yeah, it's just, got a bad taste in my mouth with this one. Yeah.
It's like, it looks like they tried, but the fact that they changed the character so much to suit their agenda is what it feels like, and it just, like, makes me just immediately, like, not want to touch it.
Hollywood has an agenda? What?
Oh, no.
No. So that's our new segment, trailers I didn't watch, and that will segue into my next segment, which I'm going to try out, another new segment. It's Get Off My Lawn. This is the Get Off My Lawn. I guess we need music, right?
We should get music or buttons.
Podcasts do music.
I'm going to go get my kalimba.
Okay.
I'm just going to ding randomly.
Yeah. This is Get Off My Lawn, and this pertains to the Assassin's Creed movie trailer, or movie, which is stop making video game movies. Just stop. Dear Hollywood, stop trying to adapt these.
I don't think that's fair.
No? I absolutely do. They're two different mediums, and they do two different things, and they speak to two different groups. Do not try to
Don't
conflate
segregate
these.
them.
Yes. Segregate them. This is absolutely something I think that should be segregated. Totally. I'm putting my foot down. Like, in all honesty, really, like, there are two different things. Video games, you have complete agency with your character.
What if there were movies about non-playable characters? Or like backstory movies?
Just farmer guy walking around.
Just fan fiction movies.
Just like, just background farmer guy, like,
hey, you know that place up in, what is it? Greyhaven? No. Is it Greyhaven?
Grey Garden?
Grey Garden!
I heard that's a whole farm made out of robots. It's run by robots, and the whole movie is just
kidding.
That guy just farming, and then he goes to bed, and then he wakes up, and then
he has nightmares about robots.
Says his 4 lines that he is disposed to. You know what I call a good day? One that ends with you're eating the hot meal, blah blah blah, right? You want that movie? No, I honestly
I was
to
thinking
get
more like maybe like
to get
a Piper movie.
no
Or a Nick Valentine movie.
no
Or a Kate. No, I don't want a Kate movie. That'd be scary.
to get back on topic though. No, these are two different mediums, and they do very different things. And when you conflate them, you have to cut so many corners, and it's they a movie can't work telling a story that a video game takes 10 to 20 hours or even more to tell. And half the time in a video game, there are good stories in video games, but half the time, there's so much more going on where you as a player have so much agency that, like, that main through line story that in a movie is a very important part, sometimes takes a back seat in a video game, which is okay, right? Like, sometimes a video game can be so engaging that, like, and you're doing so many other things that the story doesn't matter half the time. Like, the story, it doesn't. You know what I mean? Like,
you just get a different sort of enjoyment out of it.
Like, you as a player prioritize these things. Like, when I play, like, something like Fallout, like, I don't prioritize the main story because I don't need, or I don't care, or I'm not invested in it, but I'm invested in all these other things that are happening in the world. So, like, I'm writing my own quote-unquote story. Like, that's a really stupid thing to say, but anyway, it's true. Like, that's what you're doing. So, like, a movie is guiding you along and pulling you in a very specific direction, whereas a game, sometimes it's directionless, you know what I mean?
To a point, yeah.
I don't know. It's just, like, there aren't, like I said too, like, there aren't any good examples that we can pull from as well, so it's kind of harder to compare and contrast these things, but like I said,
good game movies?
Yeah, so it's like, no one's really done it, and yeah, that's very subjective, but, like, I would rather play a game and be much more involved in it than and the mechanics of it and like the gameplay elements of it, rather than having a good story sometimes. But, you know, like, I don't know, it depends. But, like, Assassin's Creed, the game, like, there was so much more going on with that game that the main story beats, for me at least, like, didn't matter as much as something like in a movie where you are crafting, like, you know, like every scene has a purpose or something, like, whereas a game, sometimes you're just doing things
to waste time.
It's busy work, right?
Yeah, that's what I don't like about games.
But Assassin's Creed had a lot of that. Had a ton of that. It did,
but you're doing it to unlock the story.
Right.
That's what I mean. My motivation through a game is to unlock more of the story. So, a movie to me sounds like a good thing. They're different things, but I would like a movie based on a game that's decent.
That's not going to happen.
It could.
I'm sorry to break your heart. You can, Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider's
Why
going to come out.
Why are you giving Tomb Raider an example?
Because that's the next one after.
The next movie? Well, I
guess.
didn't play Tomb Raider. I think Fallout would be a good candidate for a backstory movie.
Oh God.
Because that would be one.
Don't listen, like, Hollywood. Put your fingers in your ears right now.
Or listen to her advice.
Well, something that follows too, like, clockwork and complex. You know what I mean? It's nuts. Or it's like, because something like follows, like, based on Mad Max and A Dog and His Boy and stuff. It's based on
influenced by.
Or, yeah, influenced by movies. So, to make a movie would be redundant.
If it focuses on the elements that they're paying tribute to those, but it wouldn't focus on those.
Well, as a movie, as like a critic who has never played the game and just saw that interpretation, they go, well, this has been done before. You know what I mean? Like, since it is based on Mad Max and stuff like that. Like, that source material is so strong throughout the game that it's like,
But I'm just saying
taking
on
that
a
into
narrative
account.
level, that game, because it's an RPG game, has a lot of narrative to it. There are a bunch of different characters.
Right, it's
that all have
it's a
these-
role-playing game.
Right.
You're playing a role, so there is no main character. You are shaping
Exactly.
your main character. So it's like that doesn't work in a movie. You can't just have.
But
like,
if it was a
the
side
sole
character
survivor.
that was equally developed, that's what I'm
Well,
saying.
that's what I'm saying. That's what removes it from being a Fallout game or a Fallout movie.
By focusing on the side character? It's more like a Fallout universe game.
Well, that's
or a
what
movie.
Yeah, but like that doesn't work because those characters in the game are written and put there to build a world for you as a player.
Right, that's
to
how
explore.
you would play it, not how you would watch it.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. If, like, for instance, if you did one of those side characters, now it is removing itself from being a Fallout movie because the Fallout game is about you. It's not about the side
Only
characters.
if you think about it like that.
Yeah, but you said it yourself. It's a role-playing game. You play a role.
Like an RPG game,
Yeah,
as in
it is a role-playing
narrative-driven game.
Right. That's why I like that's why I like something like the Warcraft movies coming out now. And it's
that
like,
would be good. Yes, that's why I'm curious about that movie.
Oh man.
I'm curious about that because that's like the type of thing where I feel like it's. I'm not saying like RPG is in like, build your own character sort of thing, but like those games tend to be more concerned with characters because they know you are making your choices as a person. They try to make it as real as possible, your options for you, because they want your characters to be real. So in so doing, to make that real in the world, they have to create really realistic characters in the world. They interact with the world in a real way.
And that's why I'm saying, like, they only make sense or they only work because you as the character are responding to them and your choices dictate what they do. So having them dictate their own, you know what I mean? Like, you are telling this, like, you are shaping the story
in the game.
Right.
Right. So
if you do it in a movie
that
form,
timeline
of
you the character getting introduced.
Right.
Characters have backstories, or stories thereafter. But
they're all based on tropes. Every side character in a Fallout game is a trope.
That is true.
So it's like.
But that's what I mean. Like a game like that.
Yeah.
That has very developed characters.
Sure.
Would make a good movie.
And like going back to Assassin's Creed did have a very strong single character, main character, and that was pretty much it. Like even in the movie trailer, it's like they added. There's like another assassin with Michael Fassbender, a woman, and it's like that he needs a sidekick now because his character isn't strong enough to stand on his own. You know what I mean? Like movies have to make these concessions to be a movie, whereas like a game you can just be lone dude by yourself the whole game, and that works because
that's what keeps you playing.
Right, and you can immerse yourself in this one single character, and sometimes it doesn't matter if there is a supporting cast or not, because of things like gameplay and mechanics, where your focus is more on that, or your focus bounces around, you know what I mean? Whereas a movie, it's like your focus is kind of on the movie, or in the movie that's happening in front of you, so, I don't know. I just think until somebody does it right, I will stand by, like, do not stop adapting or trying to adapt games into movies, because they're two different mediums. We need to I think we need to respect them exclusively, unless you want to do like an 8-hour movie.
I'm cool with that.
Maybe I'll sit down for that. Just at least out of curiosity, what an 8-hour movie is, or a miniseries. Like a miniseries based on a game would be all right. But there's just oh my gosh, it's like sometimes there are really strong characters in games, but it takes like hours and hours and hours to develop. So like to speed that process up in the form of a movie, I think that's you're cutting corners, and it's almost disrespectful to like the writers who did write that original character and put so much into that like to shorten that and make it like this bite-sized thing that's consumable to like a broad audience is like unfair to some point. So that's all I'm saying. So that was our super long
that was our podcast.
segment.
Good night.
That's it. Maybe we'll we'll do one or the other next time. But anyway. So yeah, those are the new segments. Now I guess we'll talk about the movies we watched.
Yeah.
Movies,
This was
plural.
a genius idea to start the podcast where we actually did like 6 movies with 2 obnoxiously long segments.
They're not obnoxiously long.
What are we at now?
I don't know. Don't worry about it. So anyway.
We got 20 minutes. Go.
No. We're not. There's no time limit. I need something to listen to at work, and I'll just critique my own 3-hour podcast. So last week we warned you we're gonna watch some M. Night Shyamalan movies.
Had a Shyamalan-a-thon. I'm sorry.
Boo!
I'm so sorry. What? I need to finish my coffee. I'm sorry, guys.
Boo. Okay. I don't even know. So M. Night Shyamalan, he's a director.
He is a director. He's also a producer and a writer.
Mm-hmm. He...
Was born in Pondicherry.
We're not telling his life story. You can look that up. It's called the internet. He's widely known as a suspense horror thriller director. Let's say what his first like commercial fame was Sixth Sense, maybe? Is that right?
That sounds right.
Yeah. So we didn't start with Sixth Sense though. We started with Signs.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot.
So actually, to preface all this, so I start off. I like a lot of aspects.
I know what you're grappling for, and I'm.
Here we go. I'll just really boil this down. I like The Sixth Sense, and I like Unbreakable.
Here.
And I haven't seen all of his movies. I don't know if that was the goal, but we watched a lot of his movies.
We tried.
Right. So, how about you?
I like The Sixth Sense. I like Unbreakable. I think Signs is okay. We didn't watch The Village. I've seen The Village. I think it's okay as well. Then you start hitting some serious problems, and it gets hard to say they're even okay anymore.
Well, like, have you seen his whole filmography?
No, I have not seen his 2 first.
Well, I mean, well, I guess we'll frame this in, like, his big
critically acclaimed
commercial successes or commercial releases.
They were critically acclaimed.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm saying commercial releases.
Okay,
he released them. So yeah, we started with Signs. Oh, and this podcast is gonna contain spoilers if you haven't seen Signs, Unbreakable, Sixth Sense, Lady in the Water, Devil, or oh god, what was the last one?
Unbreakable?
No, the last one.
Wait.
The last one.
Visit.
The Visit. There will be spoilers, so we are going to talk freely. So what was I saying? Start with Signs.
Yes.
I had never seen Signs before. I'd heard about Signs. I'm just coming around now in the year of our Lord 2016, and finally I've seen Signs.
What do you see?
I saw a gray, and it was not good. Like,
kind of blurry. But he was Chameleon. He's like Predator.
oh no, I mean the movie was not good.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think that movie's very good. It's got weird. Okay. It's Signs was after Sixth Sense, yeah.
Yeah, Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, Signs, Village, Lady in the Water, something else.
Something else. Yeah, I don't think Signs is very good. He does a thing, or he likes to do a thing with his characters, and give them one traumatic event in their life. The main characters, one big trauma in their life, and that is kind of what their traits stem from. And usually this trauma it's a big trauma, right? It's always like very heavy. Somebody died, or they were in an accident, or they were, I don't know.
Dead people?
They see dead people. So that as a character building device, I'm put off by. I don't like that. A lot of times too, it never feels like he's pandering, but it always feels like maybe it's the way his movies eventually come together, but everything's super convenient, and that always comes off as just bad writing. You know what I mean? Like he started in the end and then wrote backwards.
Yeah.
That's how a lot of his movies feel. And it's very transparent, and like he's not good at being subtle. Which is interesting because in hindsight, when you see his movies, he is infamous for doing like Hitchcocky twist endings. It's hard to go back in hindsight and rewatch a movie with a different perspective, or rewatch it and try to have the same perspective you had it watching it the first time. I will give him credit for like his movies are pretty layered, but like I said, he's not good at being subtle at all. Whereas someone like Hitchcock was really good at that.
I need to rewatch Hitchcock before I start comparing the two.
Yeah, oh yeah. I like a lot of Hitchcock stuff, but you could almost make the comparison too that like Hitchcock, I mean, granted M. Night Shyamalan's a lot younger, but Hitchcock made a lot of movies.
He did.
And not all of them were great.
Yeah.
So
that's why I feel weird comparing the two and highlighting one.
Right, but I feel like that's the comparison to make, right? Like they're throwing darts at a wall until something sticks. And like for Hitchcock, a lot of stuff stuck, but it's because his filmography was so vast. And I think M. Night Shyamalan is getting there. Like he's just churning stuff out.
I feel like he's falling.
No, I mean, I'm just talking about the frequency at which his movies come out.
Okay. Because to me it feels like
his quality is falling, yes.
Yes, like the first two especially, I shouldn't say first two because he had two before them, but like Sixth Sense and Unbreakable felt like really well developed movies. Like he had really thought those through, and they were like perfectly packaged by the end, and he was like, yeah, bang, here we go, this is a movie. And then after that, it was kind of like he felt rushed or something, or he wasn't tying them together. He was just desperately clinging to an idea he had.
Mm-hmm.
And they get more and more fragile, storytelling-wise, as we get further away.
Right. Like, I guess, because we could sit here and talk about each movie individually, and that would kind of get tedious. But I guess the way to frame this would be like, okay, so what are some things about his filmmaking that you like or you can appreciate or that you think he does well?
I think he's really good at picking cinematographers, for one.
Yeah, he's really good at framing shots.
Yeah, he's got some really pretty shots in his movies. I really like, which you probably really don't like about his movies, but I really like how much he highlights children in his movies and makes them into a character. And I know that was like a big deal with Sixth Sense because Haley Joel Osment was like amazing in that movie. He was very real. Like the way he acted was very realistic and better performance than I've seen out of grown men.
Yeah, he was good.
And there's something else I feel like I wanted to say before I started tearing his movies apart. Like,
do you like the way he builds and writes characters?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
It's hard to say because I like his sort of almost parable style of storytelling. I wish he made it more of a parable. Like it was more obvious that he wasn't trying to tell like a real story. Which I think is kind of what makes me want to say Lady in the Water was okay. But there's so much wrong with that movie that I can't. Because Lady in the Water is the one that seems like most aware of, like it's the most meta of his movies, where he's the most aware of what he does and what's wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
But because he hams it up so much, it makes it the worst.
Yeah. That movie was camp.
It was. It felt like he was, but like deliberately.
Isn't that what camp is? It's very deliberate and knowing of what it is. So it's like, I feel like that movie was camp. It's not a good movie.
No.
But I at least think that he realized what he was doing.
Right.
Right? Maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just, the way he writes characters is, like I said, I feel like he starts at a point and goes backwards a lot. And then with characters, he will start with a trauma, and then work outward from that, as opposed to writing a full character with a full breadth of traits, and then maybe that trauma happened, or maybe it has attributed to the way this character is, but
I don't think his character writing starts as a trauma.
I think it absolutely does. I mean, this is this is all speculation, but I because they all have one, and it all works into the plot.
But that's pretty typical of movie characters, or even book characters, is that there's a term for it too, and that's evading me as usual. But yeah, that usually a character does have some sort of trauma, and that's sort of what becomes either their crutch or their power later on in the story. It's a pretty big trope.
Yeah, it's super tropey.
Yeah.
But to kind of have this, but he has this format for his characters. I guess that's more the problem I have. It's like they're all formulaic, and he's got a formula for every character. It's like, and he plugs in all these variables, and then gets main character A, and then main character B, and main character C, and then writes a twist ending, and then works backwards from that, and that's his movie. Like, there's like Unbreakable. If we want to talk specifics, I think Unbreakable does that, but it works because I don't know why that movie works. Like, it just works because it is super tropey, and his characters are super tropey, but he's basing them on comic book characters.
Right, which are super tropey.
Right. So it's like this weird meta layer of like self-realization while using the elements that he's good at, like the cinematography and the framing, and then, like you mentioned, his use of a child as like kind of like the child is very realistically written, even though he's kind of sparse throughout, but also he's kind of a conduit for the audience, where he's like Bruce Willis's character is supposedly like immortal. He has these superpowers that he hasn't realized he has, and his child is like that the little glimmer of hope. It's like, no, you are, like, you are powerful, you are different, like, you are special, and like, you're not just an ordinary man. But yeah, I don't know, like, Unbreakable just works. Unbreakable for me works too, because it's like, I don't like Superman as a character, but if you're going to do a Superman movie, this is it. This is your Superman movie. Like
I prefer this to a Marvel movie.
Yeah, this is how you write Superman, because going back to like, was it Bryan Singer's Superman that he did in the like mid 2000s with Brandon Routh was like, I thought it was okay. It was pretty good. It was like a love letter to Richard Donner's Superman, but the way he characterizes Superman in his movie is, well, I need to make Superman relatable because he's this weirdo alien that's invincible. So Superman has a kid. Out of like that was the thing that you could that you used to humanize Superman, whereas like um, David, I heard his name. David in Unbreakable.
Oh, David Dunn. Sorry.
David Dunn, yeah, he's an ordinary man, and he has no idea that he has powers. Like that's the interesting thing, and also like the dichotomy that he's playing with the villain and the hero and that stuff. But like his unknowingness and his unacceptingness of his powers is something that like is more relatable than, oh, like Superman as a kid, like that must be tough. So I don't know, when you're writing a character that's invincible, it's hard to humanize them, and I think he does a really good job of that.
I think it's also interesting in Unbreakable because of the ambiguity of his powers.
Mm-hmm.
They aren't anything that's really crazy. He doesn't have like X-ray vision. In fact, he's just a hyper judgmental dude.
Yeah.
So this could all be like a crazy delusion at
Right.
the end, and you don't really know.
Yeah, and a lot of this is like goes back to the way Shyamalan films and writes too. Is like he telegraphs everything, basically for you. Like it's weird when people say like, oh, what's the twist, or like he's always got a twist in his movie, and it's like, yeah, it is kind of, but he telegraphs a lot of that throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you were observant and if you were like involved in the movie that you're watching, you can pick up on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So I like it's like I don't think he uses the plot twist at the end as a crutch. Although there are some movies where it feels that way, but that's only because the rest of the movie doesn't work. Like The Visit, like the end twist felt like a crutch, but that's only because I don't think the beginning of the movie worked. Whereas something like The Sixth Sense, yes, it is a plot twist, but it doesn't feel like, you know what I mean? It doesn't feel cheap. It doesn't feel
right. But I also
like
I
he's
don't know. I have
tricking
a hard
you.
time with people who say twist in general. Sometimes.
Yeah, it is it's a weird
It's
thing.
because like it's a climax, really. It's usual of movies. It's when the pace suddenly changed because something dramatic has happened, and it's
Right.
like if you weren't expecting it, you probably weren't paying attention. Especially in a movie that's like, I don't know. To me, it doesn't. To me, like M. Night Shyamalan movies feel very complete. It feels more like he thought about the movie. I don't want to say he started at the end, but it's like everything builds to this point, and then that's sort of like the aha moment he has.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels sort of like it's just a kind of through line idea that he has that he slowly builds off, and he's sometimes bad at filling up the beginning. I think it's a through line idea. The ending is the most important part because it's the climax. If that
Right.
makes sense. I don't feel like the ending is the part he builds back from
Right.
as much as perhaps you do.
Mm.
It's more like he fluffs out the feathers toward the end.
Yeah.
I mean, toward the beginning.
Right. Well, and that's another thing too. Is like there are sometimes. Well, it feels like there are so few characters in his movie that he focuses on that I would expect a lot of these characters to be better written or deeper because there are so few of them.
Right.
And that's not to say like there aren't a lot of like moving parts in his movies, because it feels that way a lot of times, and he does a wonderful job of pacing his movies, because there are so many moving parts and stuff. But diminishing returns, like I said, I like Sixth Sense and Unbreakable. I don't like any of his other movies. I think they all feel, like I said, like going back to Hitchcock, he's throwing darts at a wall and he hasn't had one stick in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
A long time. Since Unbreakable. So, that's me personally, I don't know.
He has another movie coming out too. Soon.
Does he really?
With Blumhouse again.
Ooh. Oh, so it's gonna be a horror movie.
Probably. It's called Split. No plot synopsis that I could find.
Okay. All right. Well, that's the thing too. Is like I can appreciate him as a director and a writer, continuing to put something out.
Like every year, it feels like.
I mean, like okay, we'll talk about. You want to talk about The Visit?
Sure.
Because that was the last one he did. That was 2015, and
he filmed that in secret, supposedly too.
Really?
According to my research, yes. He produced. He brought it out when it was done.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. That's actually a good idea. So, but that's more of like an antidote to a symptom of his movies, which is there's a lot of build up and he has a reputation. So now you're expecting something, and if it's not that thing, your expectations are too high, and then you're disappointed. So, but The Visit. The Visit is a horror movie in which two kids visit their grandparents, and it's all shot handycam, which is a weird thing. Not only because it's like not very characteristic of him as a director.
Yeah, and it kind of counters my cinematography point.
Right, but it seems like out of vogue almost. Like I get where that works. Like in the context, he contextualizes it really well in this movie, albeit a little obvious on the nose, but because the girl in the movie with the camera wants to be a filmmaker, so obviously she's going to film everything. But it was like, okay, well, cool, that's something fresh, that's something new that he hasn't done before. I'm interested in that, but like shaky cam, handy cam stuff is it's like it works in a very specific setting and way, I feel, and a lot of that is kind of done and past. It's like I said, it's not really in vogue, and like I'm not saying like he has to be complacent with what everybody else is doing, but like it just didn't feel good.
No, yeah.
I don't know.
I was expecting it to be kind of interspersed with it.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the problem with the shaky cam stuff too, though, right? Is like as soon as it's not,
like that fade into the moon and fade out.
Yeah, like there was a couple weird cuts and fades in that movie that didn't make sense. But as as soon as you do that traditional camera shot, then it's like, well, now I'm like, the immersion is broken, and like you're trying so hard throughout the movie to contextualize this handycam, and now you just fucking like threw it out the window. Like Chronicle does that. Trying to think of what else. Chronicle does it, but it's like kind of okay. I don't know.
I don't know what Chronicle is.
Chronicle's the teens get superpowers. X-Men-ish. Yeah, it's kind of like Heroes. Yeah, and one of them is like, I can't remember the scene exactly, but like it's a helicopter shot kind of.
Oh, I did see this movie.
I think he's using a telekinesis movie. Yeah, he's using telekinesis to move the camera or something. I don't know. That movie's alright, but yeah, you don't like superheroes, but
exactly.
It
was aliens though.
You know, like Blair Witch is like pretty good about it. Keeping it.
I haven't seen Blair Witch.
What?
I've never seen Blair Witch.
I don't even know you.
I told you this on one of our first dates.
Oh man. Oh great. Put our relationship to the test. Oh god.
You promised me Blair Witch.
Think of another movie quick. Wreck. Wreck is good at it too. And even the American remake, Quarantine, I thought did a pretty good job with the handicam stuff. But anyway, back to Shyamalan.
You forgot your favorite.
What? Cloverfield. Oh yeah, yeah. That's a good movie, but they don't really do a good job of contextualizing the handicam.
Okay.
But anyway, I mean they're at a party and whatever. But there's weird interspersed like home video, and then I don't know. Anyway. What was I saying?
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I was thinking
The Visit.
movies. Right.
It's a movie. I don't know. he's kind of going back. Yeah, I say he's going back to horror, but he's kind of his movies are always kind of have a foundation of horror, and then he sometimes will build other stuff around it. And I don't know. I didn't like The Visit. Although, spoilers, there's a scene where one of our main characters, this bratty, shitty kid, gets a diaper smashed in his face, which is fine with me. If you're gonna smash a diaper in a kid's face in a movie, I'm okay with that.
I liked the idea of creepy old people, like actually actively being scary.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sad that it didn't really build on that.
Yeah. This movie has, I don't know, this movie's not for me, I'll say that.
Yeah.
Like, even if it was well done and engaging, I don't think, like, there are just parts of this movie where it's just not for me. And then, you know, you get, like, the twist, quote unquote twist.
Ew.
In this movie, the climax of this movie. Actually, in saying that, you're right, because the climax of this movie is the twist, because...
It always is, because...
Well, in this movie more so because then the movie continues.
Right.
Whereas a lot of his movies, there's the twist, and then it's over.
No,
right?
it's either the twist, or climax, then the denouement.
Well, no,
and then
that's
the
why...
resolution.
But I'm saying, like, in Sixth Sense, the twist is the resolution. Like, it's like, oh my god, I'm dead, and then the movie's over.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
No, because then there's
He
the
goes
little boy who says, oh wait, no, that's right before that.
Sleep.
But then he goes to his wife.
Yeah.
That's the resolution. There's no denouement in the Sixth Sense.
There-
I'll give you
it just-
that.
it
But there
just-
is a
the movie
resolution.
Just ends like it's like a car hitting a wall. But anyway, the twist in this one.
Oh, and there's no.
Yes.
Doesn't he talk to his mom after? After Bruce Willis figures out he's dead. Haley Joel Osment.
Uh-huh.
Talks to his mom.
About what?
He tells her he sees dead people. That's after Bruce Willis dies, isn't it?
No.
Is it right before or right
Yeah,
after?
and then he's like, "Oh my God, I'm dead. I was shot." And then he lays down and he's like, laying next to his wife.
Yeah.
He's like, "You go to bed," and he goes upstairs and then he lays in the bed. And he's dead, and the movie's over.
No.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm probably wrong, but anyway.
Yeah, he definitely goes back to his wife and he says his farewells to his wife, and that's the resolution. But I feel like also Haley Joel Osment's character confesses to his mom after he finds out he's dead.
No. Anyway, the twist in the visit, I have a problem with the twist. I have a problem with the twist, and it's like, this is a horror movie, so yes, like, it's gonna be problematic. Well, I shouldn't even say that, because that's, like, there are movies like Cabin in the Woods, which, like, take horror movie tropes and, you know, like, look how ridiculous they are, you know, totally plays with them. But it's just sad to see another horror movie, which is problematic because, like, the twist is the grandparents aren't their grandparents. They're escaped insane asylum patients, people who are clinically mentally insane, and the way they're portrayed is perpetuating these horrible stereotypes that we should be over in fucking 2016, but we're not. I guess we're still gonna just make them like, oh, every person in a mental institution is a crazy, murdering, schizophrenic, babbling idiot. So like that, you know, like why? But on the other hand, it's like, well, I guess I could just watch a horror movie with a bunch of misogyny. Just kill the virgin, kill all the girls.
Kill the black guy.
Kill the color, yeah, kill the people of color and kill the women because, you know, horror movies.
But it's also usually mentally unstable individuals, too, that do the murdering. So it's just like, yeah, it's a horror movie. Again.
It's a horror movie.
Exactly.
Yeah. The Shyamalan. Shyamalaness.
Oh God.
The Shyamalan-ness of this movie. His style isn't in this. you know what I mean? Like his characters aren't really in this.
No, there's no. Oh, there is. Never mind.
There's no children?
I was gonna say there's no trauma. And I was like,
Oh.
oh wait, their dad left. I
Yeah.
forgot.
Their dad left because you have to have a traumatic moment, which he tries to circle back to in the end. It's just like the most corny, pandery, like heartstring tugging bullshit. Anyway. That was his last movie and it's not very good.
I'm curious about Wayward Pines. I've been hearing a lot of talk about that, and I didn't know his involvement with it. So now I'm curious.
What is that?
That's a show that was on Fox that he directed and produced.
Oh, okay.
And it's based on books, so I have to read the books first. You know the rules.
Yeah. Well, you do that.
I'll do that.
And
I'll do a segment.
Write me a book report, and we'll read it on the show.
Ray's book report.
Mm-hmm. So we missed Airbender. I've never seen the last Airbender.
I saw it. You don't need to see it. Trust me.
Yeah, I know all about that movie, and I could go on and on about that movie. So deliberately skipped that one. Didn't watch After Earth. That was the Will Smith
I never saw that one.
yeah. I'm curious because it looked pretty bad, but haven't seen that. I haven't seen The Village.
Never?
Never.
Really? Bullshit. We gotta go.
What? You've never seen the Blair Witch Project?
Really? That's next week. Next week is Blair Witch and the Village.
Handycam movies. Yeah, this is
movies about people in the woods.
Sure. The Visit is Shyamalan's. What am I trying to say here?
Last film?
The Visit is to
Shyamalan?
No, wait. Shyamalan is to John Romero as The Visit is to Diary of the Dead.
Diarrhea of the Dead?
That's what it was. It was diarrhea. It was like mid-2000s. John Romero just pops out of nowhere, like wakes up from his eternal slumber. Yeah, and is like, I'm gonna make a movie. It's a zombie movie, and it's with a handycam, and it was terrible. So it's like, this is kind of like his stab at that, maybe? Like, I don't know. Every director has to be like, oh, I guess I'll do a handycam movie. And that's kind of what this felt like. Anyway. I think if you put everything on paper, I like him as a director. I like aspects of his filmmaking and his writing and just kind of his style. I like a lot of that more than the aspects that are a little more detrimental. But in the end, it's the kind of the films that he makes that speak to him, or that speak for him, right? It's like, you can do all these cool things in your movies and have all these like tributes to Hitchcock and like the way you're writing and the style of the shot and all this stuff, but like in the end, if like I don't like the movie, like you kind of failed as a director. So I don't know, he's very divisive as a thing.
He is.
I think. But I also I can appreciate that too. It's like, I don't know, your movies are a little contentious. Like, you get people talking. Like, that's cool. I can appreciate that. They're not always good, but whatever. You know, sometimes 4 people walk into an elevator and one of them is the devil. That's a dumb idea for a movie, but fuck it. Like, I got an hour and a half.
There's 5 people. 4 people and 1 devil walking through.
Yeah, that'll be the sequel. Devil 2.
No, it's Devil with 2 L's.
Devil, 5 people walk. 5 people on a boat, and one of them is
Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson. The devil. That's what I said. Shyamalan. I need a break from Shyamalan. I need a break from Shyamalan and Zack Snyder and Tim Burton.
You said it. Oh god.
Oh man, that's a drink for those of you at home playing the Zack Snyder mentioned drinking game. I'm sorry. I'm not responsible for any alcohol poisoning or hospital bills or anything like that. So, any closing thoughts on our friend, Mr. M. Night?
None that I can think of.
Okay. And we're going to close this one out with a quick e-letter. If you want to send an email, you can send it to ithinkahatemovies@gmail.com. And you might sound like this. Good day. Oh man, in all caps.
Accent. We need an accent. It's a good day. Good day to you. Okay, no.
No, I'm not. No.
How do I know you're reading a letter? It sounds like you.
I can't do an accent. I'll offend someone.
You gotta do transatlantic. Offend nobody.
Okay. You haven't seen Winter Soldier? In all caps.
You gotta scream it then.
Yeah, I mentioned that last time. I'm really ashamed of that. Because, like I said, I heard it's a good movie. I heard it's a good Marvel movie, and then aside from that, I heard it's, as like I said last week, as a cool espionage action movie. I heard it's pretty good, so I need to get around to that. Shame on me.
Oh, and I know Superman's DC. Anybody who commented.
Yeah.
By the way.
We know.
I know that.
Jeez. I know you guys don't like Marvel for some reason, but Winter Soldier and Civil War was really good, yo. So, yeah, shame on us. This is a response last week too. Guilty pleasure is Waterworld. Been like a decade since I saw it, but it's fun to watch, especially while drinking. That's true.
Or being in the pool and 7 years old.
That comes after. That's your imagination. And
you could watch it in the pool.
Whoa! Not everybody has a pool and a TV.
It doesn't have to be your pool.
Okay,
you just bring your portable little TV over to the neighbors.
Yeah.
The abandoned house in the corner full of mildew pool.
Go in there. Go on. Yeah, I have to agree. It's better when you're drinking, but that's a lot of things. I'm not. Lots of laughs. I'm not sure all the laughs were intentional, but still, it's Mad Max, but on water. This is true. Also, it's pretty. We don't talk about the shoddy CGI, but otherwise, it's pretty. I kind of agree with that.
It's pretty. I liked it. It's like an I Spy game or book. Sorry, turned into a movie.
It's a decent looking movie. This is 95. Like shoddy CGI is every movie from 1995.
That fish was pretty good for 2 seconds.
Sure. Yeah. No. Absolutely. Harkening back to Myst for PC.
Am I supposed to understand that reference?
I don't know. No one's supposed to understand that reference. Myst is not a game. Don't play it. It's a bad game. Anyway. Fun fact. One version of this movie pans to a plaque on the top of the mountain after they make it to dry land that says Mount Everest. You're welcome.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for telling me this, person.
And I actually mentioned that while we were watching it too. I was like, well, technically, if the world did flood, obviously mountains, you'll be fine, right? They'll be sticking out of the water. But then, wouldn't the air be so thin that you just... Well, here we go, talking about plot, like, devices and Waterworld.
You developed gills, man. They probably have, like, super crazy lungs with tons of blebs or whatever those little air blimps are called in your lungs.
So the air would be too thin, and also there's not enough chlorophyll and plants on the planet to make oxygen, so everyone would be dead. Anyway,
they evolved.
No one evolved except for Kevin Costner. And then Postman was aboard. P.S. Small request. Please sit closer to the microphone. I have a hard time hearing you guys in your holes. That's from Anonymous. Yeah, apologize for that. Actually, last week, something went wrong with the recording and the post-processing. So it was quieter than usual. So this week we're going to try... I'll mess with the editor and make sure it's okay. So... And then Ray just sometimes needs to be louder, naturally.
I only have 2 settings,
vocal bars.
mumbling and giddily screaming.
Okay.
There's emergency settings.
I'll make sure you're screaming all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, that's enough. Anyway, thanks for listening, you guys. That's an episode. What are we watching next week?
Blair Witch Project in the Village, if I recall correctly.
We're not watching The Village, because fuck that. Said I'm done with him. We can watch Blair Witch. How about a shaky cam festival?
Oh god, I might be
Shaky
barfing,
cams.
but okay.
Have you seen Wreck? That's a good movie.
I feel like you made me
Let's
watch
not
that.
watch that. We'll find. Tell you what.
Do they all have to be horror movies?
No.
Are they all horror movies? I
No,
feel like
let's
they're all
not.
horror movies.
Let's not do that.
Can I make you watch Life in a Day?
No.
'Cause that's technically all shaky cam.
No.
And it's real.
No. Tell you what, we will figure this out and we'll do a post on Tumblr and let you know as soon as we can. So the Tumblr is, I think, IHateMovies.tumblr.com, and we'll post that. So keep an eye out. And that's gonna do it. Did we say bye? Did we?
Good night, Shyamalan.
Good night.